Hey there everyone, welcome back to the channel, Nico Talks Hockey. Today is the culmination of my three-part little mini-series here where I'm predicting the season standings and subsequent playoffs of 2026. In my past two videos, I went over the Western Conference season standings, my predictions for those, and then the Eastern Conference predictions and how those standings will shape up. For this video, I'm going over who I think will make the playoffs for the 2025-26 season, and then go through each matchup here. I think who will match up, who will win each matchup, and who will win the Stanley Cup in 2026. So without further ado, I want to get right into it. So we're going to start in the Western Conference and go through the divisional matchups here. So the best team in the Western Conference, I think, will be the Las Vegas Golden Knights. And I think they will face the Dallas Stars. So I think the Dallas Stars will finish at wild card 2 spot, still in the playoffs, but in wild card 2. I have them facing the Knights, and I think that the Stars are a team that has some holes. I think they're a really good team, but I don't think they'll be a match for how strong the Vegas Golden Knights will be, and the vibe they'll be feeling, and the run they'll be on. So I think the Knights will win that matchup and move on to the second round. At number 2 and 3 spots in the Pacific Division, I have the Oilers and the Ducks, and I think the Oilers pretty handily take care of the Ducks. Not because I think the Ducks will be a bad team or anything, but the Oilers just have the experience. They beat the LA Kings 4 years in a row, so I think they'll take care of the Ducks. I think it'll be. I think that the Ducks will maybe put up a little bit of a fight. They've got Joel Quenneville, who knows how to win in playoffs for sure. But I think they're going to need at least one loss here in the playoffs before they start winning some series. So the Oilers will go on to the second round. Moving on, Avalanche, the best team in the Central, in my prediction, of course, will face Western Conference wild card seed 1, which is the Vancouver Canucks. So Avalanche face the Canucks, and I think the Avalanche will win that one. I think that the Canucks, although they will make the playoffs, I think they'll be good enough for their fan base. As long as they can put up enough of a fight, maybe go to Game 6, or maybe even push it to a Game 7, will be enough to prove, hopefully, to Quinn Hughes that this team still has what it takes to be competitive. But the Avalanche will move on to the second round. And then I have the Utah Mammoth in the second divisional spot against the third divisional spot, the Winnipeg Jets. I think the Jets, although the third spot, I think they do beat the Utah Mammoth. I think that comes down to the Jets, well, twofold. I think the Jets have much more experience than the Mammoth at this point in the playoffs, and they'll know what it takes to win a playoff round here. But I also think it'll be a little bit of desperation from this core here in Winnipeg, probably understanding that this could be Kyle Connor's last season as a Winnipeg Jet, and also that this core, even if they still keep Connor, this is an older core. They gotta get it done soon here, I think, and I think they recognize that. So I think Jets move on to the second round. Let's finish the second round, or finish the first round here. So we'll go out to the East now. Ottawa Senators, I think they'll be the second best team in the East, so they'll face wild card 1, which I think will be the Blue Jackets, the Columbus Blue Jackets. I think the Senators take care of business here and win. They lost this past playoffs in round 1 to the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think that was good experience for this young core, and they rectify that by moving on at least to the second round here, and eliminate the Columbus Blue Jackets. Moving on to the Florida Panthers versus the Montreal Canadiens, who I had the number 2 and 3 seed in the Atlantic. I think that the Florida Panthers run stops here. I think the Montreal Canadiens, much like the Ottawa Senators, I think they both are teams that will learn from their losses and learn from their mistakes this past playoffs, and they're gonna try and. I think the Canadiens will upset the Florida Panthers big time, and I think that it'll be really a sight to watch and see the Montreal Canadiens core and see Habs Nation be just so elated at seeing this team win a playoff round for the first time in many years. Moving on to the Metro, I think that the best team in the Eastern Conference will be the New Jersey Devils. So I think they face wildcard 2 spot, the Toronto Maple Leafs. And here's where I have another upset. I think Toronto Maple Leafs beat the New Jersey Devils. Couple reasons for this. I think the New Jersey Devils, they've got Sheldon Keefe as their head coach. I think he's a good coach, I really do. Don't know if he's a coach that's great when it comes playoff time. I think that I don't know. I don't know if it's either he refuses to change his systems, or he changes them too much because the pressure. I don't know what it is, but I'm not a believer in Sheldon Keefe when it comes truly time to perform. And I like Craig Berube's style way more. So I think it's basically it'll come down to coaching. And I think that they will upset. The Leafs will upset the Devils and move on to the second round here. Moving on to the last matchup before we see what happens in the second round. The New York Rangers versus the Carolina Hurricanes. The 2 and 3 spot in the Metro. Who do I have winning? I have the New York Rangers winning this one, and I think it comes down to a bit of a coach thing as well. I think Mike Sullivan with a better group here. Obviously the Penguins had an unbelievable group when they won the Stanley Cups, but after that they got, some key players left, and they got older. I think this New York Rangers squad still has a year or two left in them to really show what they're about, and I think they're going to defeat these Hurricanes, which is bad news for the Hurricanes because they're trying to go above the third round. They're trying to get to the finals and win the cup, not regress and lose in the first round. But that's what I have happening. Rangers move on to the second round. So second round time. Here we go. So back to the West. Let's go back to the West. I have Knights playing the Oilers. They both moved on. And this is a big one, right? If this ends up happening, this is the Oilers facing the Knights for the second year in a row, and the Oilers trying to get back to the finals for the third year in a row and try and finally win this cup. The Knights, they're just trying to show that they've got Marner now, and that they still have a squad that's capable of winning the Stanley Cup with Marner now. It's the missing big piece, and they're a team that can absolutely still contend for the cup. Well, I still think they are a team that can contend for the cup, but they're going to lose to the Edmonton Oilers. I think the Edmonton Oilers will move on to the third round, and it'll be a second year in a row that the Knights go out in the second round to the Edmonton Oilers. It's going to be rough. I think that Marner, this is my prediction, my official prediction of Marner, is that he won't be too much better. He won't be too much better when the lights are brightest in Vegas. I don't think it's just a Toronto problem. I think it's a Mitch Marner problem. So that's my prediction. I'm sorry, Vegas fans, but I think Oilers move on to the third round here. Avalanche versus Jets in the second round. This is the Central Division matchup. Whoever wins this is the best team in the Central Division. Avalanche versus Jets. I think the Avalanche win this one. I think that although Jets are desperate and they really want to win, the Avalanche always seem to have their number. The Avalanche always seem to know how to beat the Jets and how to get past Hellebuck. So I think it's another year where the Jets lose in the second round, which is really gonna suck for Winnipeg. Look, they're consistently making playoffs and they're even winning rounds here and there, but it won't be enough to win the Stanley Cup. So Oilers and Avs move on to the third round. On to the East, second round matchups. You've got the Senators versus the Canadiens. That's how it would match up. The Canadiens beat the Panthers here in this mock, and the Senators beat the Jackets. Senators versus Canadiens, two Canadian teams. One will move on to the third round. I think this Ottawa Senators will defeat the Montreal Canadiens in the second round and move on to the third round. I think that they've got a superior goaltender. I think they've got a superior defense. And I think they've got a superior overall forward lineup. You could debate that the top six group there in Montreal is potentially better than Ottawa's. It's very good, like in Montreal. But yeah, I think that I'm banking on an unbelievable season here from Ottawa, and I think they do end up besting Montreal and move on to the third round. Moving on to the last matchup of the second round, the New York Rangers versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. New York Rangers, I've already spoken about them. They're a team that I think will really bounce back hard, and Toronto Maple Leafs will have a rough season, but the reason I think they'll have a rough season is because their style of hockey will shift to more playoff hockey time. I think that continues. I think they best the New York Rangers and move on to the third round for the first time in like a long while. And I don't think it's a coincidence that Mitch Marner will not be on this team, and they will finally see that the mix is different and that their style of play will be a little bit different, and it'll be more conducive to playoff success. The Toronto Maple Leafs will move on to the third round with the Senators. So if you're anyone at home taking notes here, the final four here in this 2026 playoffs mock is the Edmonton Oilers versus the Colorado Avalanche and the Ottawa Senators versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. 3 of those 4 teams are Canadian teams. So at this point in time, that's a 75% chance of a Canadian team finally winning the Stanley Cup. Will it happen? Keep watching to find out. So in the third round, you've got the Colorado Avalanche being the home team, because I think that they will finish as the number 2 spot in the best team in the Central and the second best team in the entire Western Conference. So they'll have home advantage against the Oilers. Who will end up winning? I think the drive for Edmonton will be too strong. I have the Edmonton Oilers moving on to the Stanley Cup Final for the 3rd year in a row and trying to get it done this time. Edmonton Oilers, I think it'll be very close. I think it'll go Game 7. McKinnon versus McDavid. But I do believe that the best player in the world, his team that he's on, will be victorious. And the Oilers will be in the finals once again. And then the Ottawa Senators versus Toronto Maple Leafs. If my prediction is correct, that means we will have an all-Canadian final, which means we will have a Canadian Stanley Cup winner for the first time in 33 years, I think. I think I got that right, 32 or 33 years, one of those. But who will win? Who will move on to the finals? Ottawa Senators, who I'm expecting an insane year from them, or the Leafs, who are without Marner for the first time, but playing more playoff ready hockey. I have the Toronto Maple Leafs moving on to the final. So in the final, I have the Edmonton Oilers against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Edmonton Oilers having home advantage. That will be the final, I think, for 2026. I think if that's the final, not only will I think I'm a wizard at predicting and I'm going to go buy a lottery ticket, but I also think that would be just pure cinema, absolute cinema to watch, because you're watching maybe the best goal scorer in the game today, and Austin Matthews, an American, going against the best player, overall player in the game today, in Connor McDavid. And he's out for blood because he's had 2 years in a row. He's gotten so close and hasn't been able to get it done. Who wins it, right? Who wins it? Well, I think that Craig Berube is the better coach. So they win the coaching, but I don't think they win anything else. I think the Edmonton Oilers will finally win the Stanley Cup in 2026. I think they defeat the Toronto Maple Leafs. They come so close, and Leafs Nation cries themselves to sleep. I mean, I'm sure they'd also be happy that they get the finals for the first time in forever. I mean, any win's a win right now for Toronto. But yeah, I have Edmonton taking home the glory. 3 years in a row going to the finals, and the third time is the charm. They win the Stanley Cup in 2026. So yeah, that's my predictions. My 2026 playoff predictions. It's never too early to make some predictions here for this, and I made my standings predictions, so I wanted to make my playoff predictions. I'm sure throughout the season I'll come up with like at least 2 more of these. Maybe come like winter break time, come Olympic time, I'll make a mid-season kind of predictions, playoff predictions, who I think will win the cup, and then I'm sure, obviously come playoff time, I will create a bracket and I'll be making another prediction. So, but yeah, that's my prediction as of now. The Edmonton Oilers are your 2026 Stanley Cup champions. Thank you so much for watching. I didn't even mention this throughout the video, I just noticed. But to be completely #unbiased, I am repping the Arizona Coyotes as my my jersey of choice today. Rest in peace. Hopefully they one day come back to the league. But yeah, wanted to rep a team that has no dog in the fight. I know that Utah Mammoth got the same players. They're not the same team, right? So not the same organization. So yeah, thank you again so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you really like the video, if you could consider liking and subscribing, that would do wonders for me and the channel. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.